I'd now like to introduce the president of the University of Utah, Bernie Machen, who will welcome and introduce His Holiness.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is my privilege to welcome you to our campus and to introduce you to our distinguished international guests, the 14th Dalai Lama. His Holiness is here today in part in recognition and support of our local community of Tibetans. These Tibetans are refugees who found in Utah a place to call home, hoping someday to return to their homeland in Tibet. The Tibetans have enriched our city, and we are grateful for their presence. I would also like to commend Pema Chazawensong and her organizing committee for all the hard work that has gone into planning for this visit of His Holiness over the past 3 years. The first invitation was extended 10 years ago when the refugees came to Utah. The Utah Tibet Support Group has followed up over the years and is delighted to see a dream fulfilled. The Dalai Lama's full name under the holy Buddhist tradition is Jetsun Jumful Nogwang Lobsong Yesha Tenzun Gatso, which means Holy Lord, Gentle Glory, Compassionate, Defender of the Faith, and Ocean of Wisdom. Now that's a long name for a welcome, but it is also a compelling way to define His Holiness, because He lives up to that name in every way. His Holiness has led an amazing, even an astounding life. He was recognized at the age of 2, in accordance with Tibetan tradition, as the reincarnation of his predecessor, the 13th Dalai Lama. In 1950, at the age of 16, he was given the full responsibilities of leadership of Tibetan Buddhism and the head of state of the nation of Tibet. These responsibilities were greatly complicated by the Chinese invasion of Tibet, and the Dalai Lama approached this challenge to his nation with peace. His attempts to settle the problems were rebuffed, ultimately forcing him to escape to India, where he received political asylum and was permitted to establish the Tibetan government in exile. As the years passed, His Holiness' persistence, peaceful efforts in order to solve the Tibetan situation with China became known by all the people of the world. He made numerous visits to the United Nations and to the nations of the world to plead the Tibetan cause. The Nobel Peace Prize was awarded to His Holiness in 1989. The citation reads as follows: "The committee wants to emphasize the fact that the Dalai Lama, in his struggle for the liberation of Tibet, consistently has opposed the use of violence. He has instead advocated peaceful solutions based upon tolerance and mutual respect in order to preserve the historical and cultural heritage of his people." His Holiness the Dalai Lama has captured the heart of the world's people. It is not an exaggeration to term him a modern Gandhi. In the face of staggering challenge, he speaks lovingly and kindly while radiating inner peace and serenity. These enormous personal virtues, based upon his religion and his belief in humanity, warm our hearts. We are fortunate to have him here today with us. Your Holiness, we welcome you to the University of Utah. We now look forward to hearing your message, Ethics for the New Millennium. There could not be a more important message at this time in our nation and the world's history.
Take the lead, take the lead. Oh, these two lights too strong. I can't see your face. 가서다 거봐 배터리 무슨 소리에 대해서 소가 나올이야 엔터도스 가미샤다 그거 좀 배가부중 근데 가는데 배슈샤 성놀이야 섬지슈기라 투치슈기
It's a great pleasure for me to be with you here in this beautifully decorated wonderful hall, and among us is also a governor and also a large congregation of people. So I would like to first of all extend my greetings to all of you.
Here, I think a large number of people come here. If you come here with great expectation, that is wrong, because you will be disappointed. Then I think even you see, they come here with believe that Dalai Lama have some kind of healing power. Then that is really nonsense. Then some may come here with, I think, curiosity. That's okay. Then my topic or my usual sort of talk, I talk with my own sort of experience and with the feeling that I'm just another human being. So communicate with human being to human being, nothing special. I think you see this moment, I'm speaking to you as a human being, not being as a Buddhist or a Tibetan. I simply talking to you with a feeling just I'm another human being. So here you also, I think they listen my talk on the level that you also just human being, because my main sort of topic is basic human values, because I believe the human value that is such as sense of sharing, sense of caring, and sense of concern one another, and self-discipline and contentment. These I consider basic human values, or in other words, a good quality of human nature. So these are important because these are the, I think, foundation for happy life, successful life. So irrespective, these qualities irrespective of whether believer or non-believer, and with believe this religion or that religion, no differences. These are all human beings. I believe, right from the birth. You see, these qualities, I think the seed of these qualities already there, and and our sort of, I think the very survival very much, you see, depend on these values. So whenever I have the opportunity to interact with public, I always stress the importance of these points. So today, basically is my sort of topic is these points. Then the
So the theme of our talk here is ethics for the new millennium.
Now, in order to start that topic, now today we are in the 21st century. Now look back our past century, 20th century. There are, I think, there is so many material development as a result of great achievement in science and technology. The 20th century, actually, I think, one of the most important century of human history. But at the same time, during that century, I think a lot of bloodshed happened. Halamda mi luju nalolia, turum nishubadi, mangru thane da mi shivada, taganashin dumenyoba de peji mangshu chadiosai.
We could say that the 20th century is probably the most significant century in terms of human suffering as a result of casualties of war, conflict, and violence.
Although I think conflict or war, I think right from the beginning, in human history, that's right from the beginning that always happen. But then the differences, the destructive power immensely increased. So as a result, the great sort of suffering or damage, you say, happened during the 20th century. So this shows the technology, science, use a negative way, then it bring more disaster, more pains. Then the technology itself, no motivation. So it entirely depends on the user, so ourselves. So in the past, sometimes it seems we very much sort of relying on the technology. Sometimes you see neglect about our motivation. And look, even I think in the modern education system, I think most of the subject related with the material, development. I think very few subjects which you see concern about, I think the development of healthy mind or spiritual side. So the education system, that is that. So sharing the drawdown patching over yarje, tegarang the tuni yongdebichi.
So if we look at the modern education system, we can see that it is as if it was deliberately designed to enhance the process of material development, which is based on science and technology.
사진이 인도산에 안다 가수르다 먼저 시행이 전화데 나로래야 단대당도 삼당고 저기 삼정기.
Therefore, I feel now the time has come to give a serious thought to the very basis of our philosophy behind the education system and the manner in which we inculcate education to the younger generation.
It seems when in Europe the education institution started separately, I think almost 1,000 years ago, I think. During that period, the moral ethics side taken care by the church and also I think family. So eventually in the society, in the modern society especially, the influence of the church comparatively is declining. And the family value also sometimes is scattered. So then it seems nobody is taking care about the spiritual value side. So therefore, now I think the time has come, we should think more seriously, you see, how to develop some kind of the balance, the education or knowledge and moral ethics. The human brain, I think, it can be both. Out of the 판도를 조댕에 가다 개진을 용돼야지.
So far as human intelligence or brain is concerned, it can be both constructive and also it can be equally destructive.
Therefore, the brain should be balanced with warm heart. Combined that way, our intelligence can be constructive. So, learning our past experience, then it becomes clear that now we need promotion of human values. Now, often I telling this people, or I'm sharing with people, the past century, 20th century, become almost like the century of bloodshed, century of violence. So now this century, 21st century, should be century of dialogue. Reason. Now, the violence is not, I think, a right method to solve conflict. Firstly, basically, I believe human nature is more gentleness. Although the aggressiveness also part of human nature, but I think dominant force of the human nature, I feel the human affection. I think one simple reason, this very human body, the peaceful mind or compassionate mind goes very well, this body. Now, when the person, the mental level, more compassionate, a compassionate attitude automatically bring inner peace, because compassion brings us inner strength. So with more self-confidence, the less fear, less doubt. So result, more calm. So that very good for health, for this body. More calm mind, all elements of the body then go smoothly, more balancedly. Other hand, if our mind remain more agitative, then it eventually disturbed our body's inner element. The result, you see, the digestion eventually you see, suffer, and the sleep suffer, and through that way, your health ruin. So that means the agitated mind will not go well with this body. So body need some kind of inner peace. So that's, I think, one indication. Then, if we look the other mammals of species of mammals, those mammals like tiger or lions, these say they are very basic sort of, I think, way of survive is
Preying on other animals.
So you see, their body structure accordingly developed. Very strong teeth and what called these nails. And then rabbit or deer or these animals, more peaceful, less aggressive, very peaceful nature. So accordingly, their physical structure also, you see, developed that way. Now we look our own body. Look our nail. Not like that. Our teeth, I think quite beautiful. Not like that. What's called Kasa?
Fangs. Fangs.
I don't know that word. So then you see it seems now we belong to those peaceful animals, not the other one. But because of human intelligence, you see, the body, compare elephant or tiger, body weaker. But because of the intelligence, you see, we use ways, different methods or different instruments, then conquer other because of this intelligence. So I think because of the human intelligence, then human being, because of the intelligence not balanced well, then human being becoming more aggressive. So therefore, if we look the basic human nature, I believe more peaceful or more sort of compassionate. This is my feeling. Some may not agree that, but you see, we have to sort of discuss. Then sometimes I jokingly was telling my friend, our two hand seems to see for hugging way, for hugging, not for making boxing. Isn't it? So these 5 fingers, this is the shape. That's very good, you see, to make friend. If just you see for bead, right? Bead, then no need these fingers. You see, like this. You see, the more powerful, isn't it? In any case, I think individual case or family case, those individual as well as those family who have more sort of, I think, the compassionate mind, more sort of, the family where I think always you see taking care of one another, sharing one another, even some disagreement, some conflict happen, they always try to solve through peaceful way. Is that family always happy, much happier. Then another family, whenever little problem happen, always fighting, always one another sort of, even some cases beating like that. You see, that family always you see, find more tense, more difficult. Even I think what called pets are there. Pets or dogs or cats. I think in that family, I think often more suffering. The other family, where more compassionate atmosphere there, even those animals also get the benefit. So that's very clear. So I think here the mistake is we usually look the negative emotions such as hatred or anger. These we consider just normal, and some cases, you see, we consider these are something protector of oneself. When we face some threat, then anger comes. So as if protector, helper, defender. So yes, it is true. When anger comes, anger also brings us more energy. But then if we look carefully, then the energy which brought by anger, that is essentially blind energy. So if the circumstances, you see, need some kind of countermeasure to challenge the other one who create trouble for you, without anger, through wisdom or through intelligence, and through
through truthfulness.
I think according to the principle of justice or truth, you can challenge, you can take countermeasure without anger or without negative feeling. Actually, you see, that countermeasure will be more effective. So then again, the anger is, if we carefully look, then you see, anger is really destroyer of our inner happiness or inner peace. The external enemy, no matter how powerful that enemy, they cannot directly destroy our inner peace. The enemy there, but one's own mental attitude remain calm due to certain I think they believe or certain training of mind, calm, then the external enemy, you see, cannot disturb your mind directly. But anger, as soon as anger develops in our mind, it immediately destroys our peace of mind. So therefore, anger is real enemy. What is the definition? Definition of enemy is, you see, destroy or harm your body or ultimately your life. So the anger, actually, you see, anger allowed to come and becoming more stronger and stronger. Then eventually, as I mentioned before, our health will ruin. Then
also your life will be shorter.
So therefore, the real enemy is actually within ourselves, not externally. The external enemy, today enemy, taking some harm on you, but through different circumstances, eventually that enemy one day may become best friend. There's always a possibility. But like anger, hatred, always remain as a destructive. So judging this way, you can convince, right? You can
be convinced.
You can be convinced the real enemy, such as hatred, fear, these are within ourselves. So these are, I think, more dangerous than external enemy. So So then, thinking this line, eventually you can develop some kind of attitude towards these negative emotion, more distance or not welcoming. So that kind of attitude itself makes differences. Once you take sort of position, so not welcoming these negative emotion, then eventually the power or the force of the negative emotion eventually because we can decrease. So similarly, the other side, the lack of compassion or sense of caring, these are very helpful, very positive. So in these positive emotion, we constantly think or constantly analyze. The work of these is a positive emotion. As I mentioned earlier, the compassion brings us inner strength. In other words, compassion open some kind of inner door. Then through that inner door, we can communicate easily with other fellow human beings and even with animals. Result, you feel very safe, happy. If you see the negative feeling, negative emotion here, then inner door automatically closed. And because your own negative attitude towards other, you get the feeling that other also have the same sort of negative feeling towards you. So result, you always find it difficult to communicate with other fellow human beings. Fear, doubt, sense of insecurity. So the compassion or sense of caring, affection is really very, very positive, was a very powerful positive sort of emotion. So then you see, and then also through compassion, you really get, I think, inner strength and inner peace. So here, I think very important to know. Usually, you see, people get the impression, compassion, love, these are something good for other, not necessarily to oneself. I think that's a great mistake. Because as soon as you develop compassionate heart, you immediately get the benefit. But that whether you see benefit to other, that is depend on other circumstances, other factors. Now, my own experience, some warm heart, you see here, then feel something
Secure.
or secure. And I can easily communicate with other. Then also, with warm heart, you see, automatically bring smile. One smile from my side, the other side also, I think very often, you see, return similar way. That bring me more happiness. But it is, of course, you see, it is wrong if I expect some smile from other without my smile. I remain very stern, but at the same time expect some very warm attitude from other. That's a mistake. So therefore, now the warm heart really, you see, bring the some kind of the inner joy. So then, some cases, I smile to someone. That person sometimes, you see, look back me as if, oh, why I'm smiling to him or to her? So it seems sometimes that person get more suspicion. Or even I think sometimes they may get the feeling I'm exploiting or take advantage on them. So therefore, now my compassionate attitude, whether benefit to other or not, depend on his or her sort of circumstances. As far as to myself, immediately get some kind of inner peace. So then similarly, the anger, usually we consider anger is something good for oneself and to protect oneself, and it can harm on other. That also is very doubtful, very doubtful. Anger immediately ruin your peace of mind, that's very clear. Then that anger really going to harm on other person, again depend on many other factors. Sometimes I jokingly telling people, if you have one neighbor, that neighbor one day I think little uncomfortable things happen because of your neighbor. Then you think negative side, then the irritation bigger and bigger and bigger. And then even your neighbor, even just they put light, switch on the light or put off the light, then although that is just normal, but you get the feeling, oh, he's teasing me.
You might get the feeling that he is trying to provoke me.
So then eventually, your relation with your neighbor then become difficult. Then under that circumstances, your neighbor also then eventually get some kind of negative feeling towards you, truly. Right? Then you hear, in spite of that kind of difficulties or problem, if you remain calm, and your visitors regularly come, and your mood always happy, therefore the visitors also happy to come. And through that way, your neighbor may feel uncomfortable. On the other hand, because of the trouble of your neighbor, you lost your peace of mind, and your mood become agitated. So the visitors, if your best friend, then is a little reluctant to come, because your sort of mood is always some kind of agitated and bad. So your visitors eventually reduce. So then time goes, your appetite also suffer, your sleep suffer. Then I think you really remain in your room, all these lights switched off, and even curtains also closed, and remain like that. Then I think your neighbor really feel happy. Now my neighbor really suffer self-destruction, that kind of feeling. So that's a fulfill wish of your neighbor. Foolish. So therefore, the anger and negative feeling, these are really destroy your own happiness, your own fortune, but not necessarily harm your enemy. So the taking care about other looks, you are extend your energy, your time on others' benefit. And sometimes people may get a feeling, practice of compassion is sacrificing your own interest. That also absolutely wrong. More taking care of others, you get more friend. You get more trusted friend. Otherwise, you remain very self-centered, narrow-minded. Then so long your fortune there, you may have some friend. But when your fortune decline, these friends may not come to you. Even you try to telephone, you may not get a satisfactory answer. Because these friends are friend of your, your money or your sort of wealth or your power, not a genuine human friend. So, on the other hand, if you remain a warm-hearted person, with sense of caring of other, then the including animal come to you and with sincere sort of attitude or sincere sort of, I think they trust. So that's the real human friend. When you need some help, you can ask. So the practice of compassion is actually, I think, best way to fulfill one's own interest. So sometimes I use the sort of, I think, the one expression. If we selfish, should be wise selfish rather than foolish selfish. So that's true. So therefore, they now analyze these different emotions. Eventually, you get conviction. Some emotions are very positive and very helpful to us. So we deliberately increase these emotions. And some emotions are negative, destructive. So you take some kind of certain attitude, not invite or not welcome these negative emotions. So that's the way to transform our mind. And that also the training of mind is like that. Not meditation or not some kind of remain like that or close your eye. That's not necessarily to transform our mind. But through reasoning, through awareness, we can develop our right kind of emotion can increase and negative emotion eventually weaken. So that's the way of training of our mind, improve ourselves. Now the motivation, this kind of positive attitude is the motivation. That's very essential. Every human activities, ultimately prime mover, all these actions are motivation. So long motivation is pure, sincere, and all human activities can be constructive. If the ultimate motivation bad or negative, then every human action, even religious teaching, looks, there's something spiritual thing. But because of the negative motivation, even that also is destructive. Sincere motivation, even some the wrathful wrath, some harsh sort of activities, essentially can be positive. So, another word, usually I call the human approach. Human approach, that's the essential, with human affection. Like I think the 5 finger, all these fingers related with this basic human what called palm. Then all very sort of useful. But each finger separate, then it cannot be useful. So similarly, human activities, all human activities centered with human affection, then all becoming constructive. So whether business, or politics or in every field. So the motivation, sincere motivation, compassionate motivation is very, very essential for human in human society. Then today, especially I think like world peace. There's peace, genuine peace, not just mere absence of war. Peace is much more deeper. So basically, I think demarcation, violence and non-violence, very much related with the motivation. So therefore, in order to build genuine world peace, ultimately the emotion, human affection is this center. So obviously, peace out of fear, not genuine peace. Peace out of compassion, out of mutual respect, that's the genuine peace. So peace must come through inner peace. So world peace, I think first start within one individual, ourselves. Inner peace, more compassionate, then that extend in our family and community and in the society. So the leadership come from that society. If the society, more compassionate society, then leadership coming from that society, much more possible, becoming more compassionate. But the society as a whole, always extreme self-centered and ready to exploit on other, take advantage one another, then from such society, the leadership or politician or even religious leader come from that kind of society, then difficult. So it's some sort of, I think, the unfortunate things which happen, whether it's due to politician or some other. We can't blame on these individuals. We have to think the ultimate cause of that.
So we can't blame individual politicians or whoever alone, but rather we must think seriously and question where is the basis for all of this.
So they build a healthy society. I think that's very, very essential. Now for that, as I mentioned earlier, the education for brain development, at the same time, some kind of spirituality which develop warm heart. Now these must together. Then when I say, when I mention spirituality, not necessarily with religious belief, these basic human good qualities, these are one level of spirituality. So usually I call secular ethics, without religious belief, but these through analyze, even I think through scientific explanation. Now look, this is some medical, medical
science.
Medical scientist. They say this. One time, I had one sort of conference with this scientist, mainly because of the
Neurologist, medical scientist.
Medical scientist. So the one scientist, show one report on his study. Then he mentioned those individuals who often use word I, mine, me, like that, and these people have greater risk for heart attack. So I think the reason, I think quite understandable, they always think oneself in very narrow kasoda.
Area.
Narrow area. Just me like that. Then whole sort of, I think the mental attitude, very focusing very narrow area. So under that circumstances, even a small problem appears very big and unbearable feeling. When the mental attitude is a think world or others, and automatically the mental attitude whitened. So within that angle, whitened angle, one's own problem, even some serious problem, then appears not much significant. I think that makes differences. So therefore, through these sort of, I think, explanation, eventually we get better awareness. Ultimately, one's own benefit, one's own future, we need this positive emotion. This negative emotion is very harmful. So through that awareness, we can transform our attitude. So then, as I mentioned before, the past century is 20th century as century of bloodshed. Now this 21st century should be century of dialogue. Because there's so long human beings remain on this planet, some kind of conflict always there. Because I think the ultimate, I think, creator of problem is human intelligence. So long human intelligence remain there, some different views or different sort of ideas, conflict or contradictory ideas always there. Basically, it's the contradiction itself, nothing bad. Two forces, contradictory. Then, if that is a contradiction become explosions, then dangerous. Otherwise, it's the true force. Through that way, we can develop more synthesis sort of, I think, the new ideas or new sort of, I think, the force. So therefore, the contradiction itself is nothing wrong. Then here, how to overcome contradiction or conflict through awareness, through human intelligence, and with help of warm heart. That means respect others' view and sense of concern of others' interest. With that, the genuine dialogue can happen. So the way to overcome these contradictions. So in order to increase the concept of dialogue in the conflict sort of field, the human affection is human compassion is, I think, very, very important factor. So in education system, I would like to have some kind of training to the children right from the beginning. Whenever the dialogue is the best way to solve the problem, or the dialogue is the peaceful resolution of the conflict. So through familiarize to the student, through that way, they eventually, whenever they saw some conflict, their immediate response should be, how to dialogue to solve the problem. Not usually, we have, when we saw some disagreement, some conflict, then response, how to use force in order to solve the problem. So through training, through awareness, instead of, the immediate response, how to use the force, not that way, how to dialogue. Then again here, another reality, that is today's world heavily interdependent. My future entirely depends on the other's future. So my interest very much related with others' interest. So under that circumstances, the concept of we and they no longer there. So in order to save my interest, you have to take care of others' interest, because my interest very much related with that. So under that circumstances, the dialogue is dialogue.
Dialogue is the only means.
I think in previous time, in the past, yes, when not only nation to nation, but even the village to village, more or less independently,
Entities.
I mean, no need this village or this family, no need other sort of cooperation. Now today, not only nation to nation, but continent to continent, heavily interdependent. So, in the past, because my interest is something separate from their interest, so under that circumstances, the concept of war, defeat or destroy your enemy's interest, that victory of one's own interest or one's own sort of future. But now today, my interest very much related with others' interest, so therefore, destruction of your neighbor is actually destruction of yourself. So the concept of war is out of date. Now we have to accept the reality, then we have to act according to the reality. So the thinking war, thinking use force is not realistic. The realistic through dialogue. So then, when we have the dialogue on the external disarmament language.
So once we deeply recognize that force and violence is not the realistic or best means to resolve conflict, but rather dialogue is the most effective ways of resolving conflict, then the question of disarmament becomes very important.
Now, since war using force is not a realistic sort of approach, so then the weapons, these are really wasteful. So we can think ultimately our goal, global level, to demilitarize the globe, demilitarize the world. So that's our long-run ultimate goal. Of course, you cannot achieve overnight. You need, step by step. Like I think first, denuclearization, then eventually they reduce offensive weapons. Go like that. And another, I think, possibility is establishment of unified force. So through this way, eventually, we can achieve demilitarized world. I think this should be our ultimate goal. Then this, I think, then I think our immediate, some sort of concern or
one thing that we can achieve in the immediate term, and something that we need to pay serious attention to, is the question of arms trade.
Some Nobel laureate already, start some work. So I think our public, should have clear awareness, the importance of stop or reduce arms trade. So this is one thing. Then another thing, another serious matter is the gap, rich and poor. At global level, as well as within the nation. I think that's one serious matter. I was told in this country, America, the number of billionaires is increasing, but poor people still remain poor, and sometimes even poorer. So this gap, not only morally wrong, but practically also source of problem. So we have to address properly. So then this brings another, question or another point. That is our lifestyle. Lifestyle. We always say consume. And with the belief or nature resource is something limitless. And we have some kind of habit. Every year, the national growth must increase. If not increase, then people feel, oh, this is disaster, or government wrong, or something like that. I think that sooner or later, we reach certain limitations. And then here, because of this gap, now, here, I think now, for example, here, we really enjoying, I think, every comfort here. But same moment, the same planet, in some other places, this moment, facing starvation. And some area, deliberately killing one another, sometimes in the name of, nationality, or narrow-minded nationality, these things. So therefore, some area surplus, some area same human being, but even basic necessity not adequate, and facing even starvation. So this we must change this. So there's some expert. When the Southerners' living standard raise up to the living standard which Northerners are already enjoying, then under the present human population, they're around 6 billion, the nature resources, then it's questionable whether sufficient or not. So therefore, now I think imagine the India and China, most two populated nations, combined, then more than 2 billion of human beings. If they are, like American sort of lifestyle, each family 1 car or 2 cars, then you see there are more than 2 billion cars. Oh, very difficult. So therefore, here I think the practice of contentment is, I think, necessary in order to provide sort of equal opportunity to other poor people, poor nations. Some richer nation, I think, should think your lifestyle more contented one. After all, you see, there's too much luxurious sort of lifestyle. Sometimes I jokingly telling, you see, some wealthier people, after all, the size of stomach is same. Then they, what called ornaments, diamond, rings, these like, even, even rich people, just 10 fingers. So even you see that all 10 fingers put one diamond ring. Oh, looks not nice. Then I think looks very, very, very strange, isn't it? So therefore, the luxury sort of lifestyle is not good. I think even health viewpoint, not good. So more simple way of life is much healthier, much better. So these are, I think, with sense of global responsibility. Now these points are something very relevant and something very important. And please think and constantly about these sort of these points. Then the change must start from individual. Without change oneself and expect some bigger change others, it is a mistake. If we believe some of these principles, then practice oneself. Whether other people listen or not, doesn't matter. Oneself, implement. Then gradually, some more and more people will join with you. So I think that's the way to change, the transformation of our society, transformation of the humanity. Then last, as a conclusion, the important is we should remain optimism and the determination. That's very important. You see, there will be many sort of obstacles and difficulties. But then, if we keep enthusiasm or optimism and determination, then we can overcome these obstacles. Otherwise, you see, right from the beginning, we remain hopeless sort of nature and a pessimistic attitude. Then even small obstacles, then we cannot overcome. So therefore, determination. If, of course, firstly, we should have clear sort of goals or visions and something just, something really beneficial. Then make attempt. And also, it's some, I think, right kind of goal. Then you see, not whether you see, it is not important whether you see that goal materialize within my lifetime or not. We have to think about humanity, in the future humanity. So therefore, you see, we have to make, you see, we have to start with some of these, I think, work. So that's the, then I think lastly, the environment problem. This is also very, very serious. You see, without much notice, then it eventually, you see, getting worse and worse. So therefore, the taking care of planet and environment should be our part of our daily life. So that is about my talk, ethics of Millenium. That's about my talk. So if you feel some interest in these points, although my English is very poor, but I hope you get some points. So you see these points, if you feel some interest, then further investigate by yourself and experiment. Then implement. If you feel not much interest, then forget. No problem. Thank you. Yes, few questions.
What advice would Your Holiness give to young parents striving to raise a spiritually balanced child in a morally shallow and corrupt society?
I think firstly, your marriage should be, I think your partner should choose properly, right? Not through hurriedly or mad way, but should know each other. Not just physical attraction, but the basic sort of nature of that person. I think that's important. Then once you see they knowing each other very well, trust, right? And then take the marriage. That marriage will be really long-lasting marriage. I think that's important. Then through that way, you can bring your child healthy way. Of course, I have no experience how to bring child. I think you know better. I don't know. If I have one child, I think I may often beat, I think. So that's not nice.
We Americans consume more than our share of the world's resources. Speak to us your thoughts on this.
I think I already mentioned.
Some governments are inclined towards your cause, but may fear political consequences or economic reprisals in their relations with China. How would you counsel, how would you advise those who mean well, but have not yet the courage to do well?
I think firstly, I often get the feeling, many countries, including the United States, when you see dealing with domestic thing, you always consider democracy, liberty, equality, these things, and justice. Then, regarding the relation with foreign or international relations field, then still, I think, old concept, relying on using force or threat. And then also is sometimes much concern about justice, without much sort of, I think, democratic principles. I think that's the, unfortunate. We have to change that. Of course, it take time. I think they, unlike previous time, I think these days, even some politicians' statement, sometimes they use word of compassion, isn't it? Before, I think much less. Nowadays, you see, using compassion. This also, I think, the signs of changing. So now, regarding this China, People's Republic of China, is a great nation, most populous nation, and a very important member of the world community. And certainly, I think the very important role already now taking place, and in the future, no doubt. So isolate China is absolutely wrong. China must bring into the mainstream of the world community and make a good friend, close friend. That's very important in the economy field. I think mutual benefit, that's good. But at the same time, they only concern about money or the economy, and then other fields such as human rights issue and also the religious freedom and some other fields, if you neglect, then that's a mistake. So now here, I think two extremes should avoid. One extreme, they isolate China. No communication, no contact. That one extreme. Another extreme, yes, even wrongdoings by Chinese. Say, oh, very good, wonderful, wonderful. I think that's another extreme. You act in order to save some money and act like yes minister. I think that's a mistake. Another extreme. Always appeasement. Appeasement. That's mistake. So the middle way, yes, make friend, make close friend, genuine friend. At the same time, those mistakes, tell them clearly, openly, frankly. Such as, I think, democracy, or religious freedom, or freedom of speech, freedom of press. These are the universal value, universal values. So the People's Republic of China is a part of the world. Sooner or later, they have to go along the global trend. So you say, so they make clear to them with sincere motivation. I think that's the right way of approach. This is my feeling.
How does one empathize with a cruel person who seems to affect most others in a negative way?
Two ways. As I mentioned earlier, the compassion. Compassion, genuine compassion is unbiased. Genuine compassion mainly is based on the understanding or recognition that other person, just like myself, who want happiness and who do not want suffering, and every right to overcome suffering. Then on that awareness, that recognition, develop sense of concern. That's the genuine compassion. So even your enemy, who really is the stupid person, yes, as far as this person is concerned, as a human being, that he or she, that person also have the right to overcome suffering. So it's a sense of caring can go, can extend. So that's the genuine compassion. Meantime, that person's sort of misbehavior. If you see they let
If left unchecked,
eventually person himself or herself will suffer. So out of sense of concern, then you see, in order to stop that, in order to make a correction, take countermeasure. So countermeasure should take, but out of not sort of negative feeling, but out of sense of concern. So as a result of compassion. So that, I think, the proper way. Although it's difficult, but can develop that. And that's the proper way.
what particular ideology in the Tibetan culture led to the compassionate interpretation of Buddhism through the centuries as compared to other kinds of Asian Buddhism?
I think that's a difficult question. I don't know. I don't know. We need more research work.
Two last questions.
Yes, two last questions.
Does tourism in Tibet help or hinder the Tibetan cause?
Help. Very good. Go there. More tourists. at present, you see the per se the kasajuti kada 표현한 내주디 심시 급식도 와. 자 실로 내주시냐도 잠시 다 가고 싶도.
At present, there's a lot of restrictions inside Tibet. Therefore, it makes it difficult for the outsiders to really know the real picture.
So it is I think, very helpful. More visitors go there and see on the spot. That I think to outside or even to the Chinese leaders, I think through third person, eventually they may get clearer picture. Sometimes I doubt, you see, their officials may not report frankly to their superior. That also I think very possible. And the totalitarian regime and the rule of terror, you see, that kind of things always happen. So this is one thing. Then to the Tibetan, some foreigners, some tourists, they come, see their place. That gives them some kind of feeling that, oh yes, world take care of us. I think that kind of feeling. So I think very useful, very good. The next question.
What was the happiest moment of your life?
I think there are many. I think. So one of the happiest,
No, one of the happiest.
one of the happiest, I don't know. Oh, I think perhaps my final examination of Buddhist study. So. Because you know, I'm rather a lazy student, and my brain seems, I think, quite sharp. So therefore, I must rely on the brain and without much effort. So my knowledge is shallow today.
Quite shallow.
Quite shallow. So therefore, at the time of examination, final examination, I really have much more sort of anxiety. So because of that, when the examination is finished, then I feel very happy. So thank you very much. Good night.